for you personally, how would you define a successful season?
It's really hard because as an OU fan, like you're kind of burdened by the standard. Like this is a blue blood. This is a place that demands
Right.
championships. And it's just unfortunate that, our first year in the SEC coincided with a bunch of factors that played up to it. Lincoln Riley wasn't the guy. He leaves. He takes Caleb Williams with him. You have to like cycle in a new crop of players to fix the defense, and you bring in a new head coach who may or may not be the guy, and it just kind of results in, well, your first year in the SEC just doesn't go well. If OU and Texas had joined the SEC 10 years ago, it'd be a different story because OU was, not necessarily on defense, but they were in a much better position to try to succeed on the field in the present. It's just the way that things work out. So you have to balance the burden of history with this program with the reality of what the situation is.
Right.
I think OU did everything that they possibly could to fix themselves in the offseason, but that's all on paper. It doesn't matter until the games start getting played. Once that happens, it just comes down to marginal things. Can John Mateer be that special type of quarterback? Is Ben Arbuckle like the next up and coming, can't miss head coaching prospect? Can Brent Venables make improvements in his game day decision making, whether it's calling timeouts here and there or maintaining focus so that the team understands that you just ran a successful fake punt. That's awesome, but we didn't score, so line up. Oh, they got a delay of game. Things like that happen and they pile up. That's not what successful head coaches do. So, can they marginally improve in those areas? If they do, 9-3 seems to me is not necessarily my prediction, but that to me is what a successful season looks like. 8-4 guarantees I think Brent Venables is going to be the head coach in the following season. If you go 7-5, I think that means that you essentially beat every single team that you should have, and you lost, and probably lost pretty badly to the teams that you're trying to measure yourself up to. And if you're at OU and you lose your measuring stick games, that's not a good sign, because this is a place that doesn't, OU doesn't tolerate failure for too long. So 9-3 to me is it's how I'm trying to grade this team this season based on what I know right now. Now, of course, that can change once the games start getting played. But I think as of right now, and what's kind of baked into that as well, is there are teams on the schedule that I don't know if Tennessee is going to be as good as they were last year. It's still on the road and it's going to be a tough game. But knowing what they lost, like offense, defense, and of course the quarterback position, that's going to be something for Tennessee to have to answer themselves. And if they're not as good as they were last year, then that's, just on paper, as of right now, it's going to be an easier, quote unquote, game for OU than it was last year. Same thing with Ole Miss. They lost a ton, and they're putting their faith in a quarterback who looked really hot for a quarter and a half against Georgia in Ole Miss's best game of the season. So, I think any four of us could have probably stepped out on the field that day for Ole Miss and looked pretty good because it was just their day. But, credit to him. They're excited for him, but they lost so much talent. OU gets them at home. Maybe that's a little bit of an easier matchup than it was last year with the talent that they had. And then Missouri lost basically everything that made them good this previous season, and they're coming to Norman for a little bit of a reckoning. So, there's three games right there. There's three games right there that if you just simply say, okay, they were 6-7 last year, there's three games that are tilting in OU's favor. That's 9 games right there. So that's why I say 9-3 is the mark for success. And it also, depending on how everything else shakes out, I don't know if a 9-3 OU team's in the playoff, but I do know that in November, they're in the conversation, like on ESPN, on the talking heads. OU would be in the conversation of like, yeah, they're pretty deserving. Look at that schedule. And if you told OU fans a year ago that don't worry, a year from now, you're going to be in the conversation for the playoff, everybody would take that and run with it.